So we're passing by a coal plant, and look at all of that smoke coming out of that plant. You know, think of it just like the smoke at a campfire, and imagine everyone's inhaling all of it. Now, for those of you who can't sense the tone in my voice, that is steam. It's not smoke. So it is like, very similar when you boil a pot of water. When you heat coal, it turns into, among other things, CO2 and H2O. CO2 is an odorless gas, and H2O is water vapor, as you know. So there's lots and lots of water vapor, and yet that is called smoke. And interestingly, I had an experience with this in an article where Rolling Stone somewhat generously named me to their top 10 global warming deniers, because I allegedly deny all the evil effects of coal usage. And then I forget the exact wording, but they were describing the smoke. I think it was either the smoke coming out of the coal plant or the CO2 coming out of the coal plant, right? Which CO2 is an invisible gas. And so this showed the level of knowledge, and we asked for a retraction. No retraction exactly was submitted, but they did change it and give no admission, which is disingenuous, but being honest about that situation would have meant admitting that they were in such a low state of knowledge that they had no business commenting on anything in energy, let alone smearing people and calling them deniers of things where they don't even understand the basic facts or even the basic looks of something, namely an invisible gas. I guess maybe someone taught them that you can see CO2, or that steam is the same thing as smoke. So what's remarkable as we travel down here is that believe it or not, there's that coal plant, and even if air is coming into the car, you look outside, you can see pretty well, not choking. Like if you come from a place like I do, and you're taught to think, well, everyone with a coal plant is just constantly choking and asthmatic and this kind of thing. I look at these trains, and these evil trains are to blame. See, now those things are still right now, but that's by choice. They actually have a source of motive power that works, that you can control, but presumably they're not needed this second. So it's just interesting where what's actually happening is that you're taking this substance, which is dirty. I mean, everything. Again, the environmentalists try to interrupt me. You're taking this thing which is dirty, and says everything in nature is dirty, right? It's all composite stuff that isn't arranged the way you like. But in fact, what we do is we cleanse coal. We're taking this material and we're separating out the elements we want quite well, through mining it and getting the whatever percent of the coal that's really good to burn, and then with all sorts of modern filtration technology. Some of the parts you can use, some of it we don't yet have the technology to make the best use of. But what you're doing is you're purifying to an extent where it's really nice air around here. We're just right next to the place, next to the plant. So there's just this ridiculous detached from reality view of living next to a coal plant is like living next to a campfire. And no, the real sources of smoke in your life most of the time, unless you're in a place that has really poor technology, I mean that applies at least as much to wood as coal. It's just really remarkable how you get almost all of the upside and none of the downside, and in part because if you look at where that thing was, it's usually a centralized power plant that's away from things, and that's even part of the benefit. To the extent that there is any kind of particles in there, it's always going to be something. It dissipates. It's kind of like you go into the ocean, and not to be crass, but someone goes to the bathroom in the ocean, you're not too worried about it because it gets diluted so much. I mean, everything really is about dosage in terms of safety, toxicity, and that kind of thing. So part of the beauty is, really thanks to Thomas Edison, is one of the innovators here, and Samuel Insull. This innovation is, now don't worry, this is not going to choke us to death either. remarkable thing where you can be totally insulated almost from any kind of byproduct just because of where you locate the thing, which is just this amazing innovation of centralized power where you're making it both more efficient by locating in a central place, and you're taking away a lot of the dangers. And you compare that to something like a local solar installation. People don't realize, you have, for instance, you have batteries there, which you don't really want your kids getting around those. And batteries are full of toxic materials. But also, if you're doing maintenance, either you have to pay someone else, or you yourself are doing maintenance on the roof and trying to keep dust away, because of course nature puts lots of particles in the air in the form of dust. And accidental falls are a very high-ranking cause of death in the United States. So it's just this combination of a cheap, plentiful, reliable source that's centralized at a place where you can really maximize the benefits and minimize the risks. It's so underappreciated. You just hear this idea of, oh, our grid sucks, we should all be local, and you should really appreciate what an achievement a grid is, and maybe look into if there are problems with the grid, making the grid better, like making sure you have really good energy sources on it, making sure you continue to build more, making sure that the wires, everything's in working order, you have good grid operators, and they do that pretty well. But I think it's a really underappreciated type of thing. And even if you look at, say, a car, one of the appeals of, say, an electric car is that you can locate the power centrally, so you can generate it more efficiently than each car having its own engine. So there are advantages of each car having its own engine, namely it can use oil, which stores power much more efficiently and densely than a battery does. That's the reason why we use it. But there is always this challenge of when you're generating power locally, it's never going to be as efficient as if you consolidate all your power generation into one big space, and it's not going to be as efficient in reducing any kind of byproducts, and it's not going to be as distant. So, can't always get the best of all worlds at any given time, but it's important to appreciate how good it is. The idea that everyone's endangered by this coal plant, and if only they put solar panels on their roof, well, they'd be endangered by no energy. They'd be endangered by maintaining the solar panels. So you need to really think carefully and appreciate both the benefits and the risks of all technologies, and not just have this model in your head of, well, obviously we should use the sun locally because somehow local has become good, which would have been news to all of our ancestors who coveted the ability to travel, who coveted important things because that meant being exposed to more and better things, and that's when it was expensive. Now it's cheap, so we should be really excited to be in a global world. Who wants a local internet where you can only browse the 10 miles of your community? Well, it's basically my view of restricting yourself to local food. That's a pretty low view, and again, it goes back to this idea of we want to restrict ourselves. We want to stop impacting things, and so if we're being global, that is more of an impact. That's true, but impacting, if it's oriented toward human life, is a good thing. It is the thing, and we're getting near price, so again, we're gonna have a chance to share some of the things with hopefully thousands of people, but even if there's only one, we'll tape it, and that hopefully that one person will learn something.